Hey guys, Chris here. In this video, we're going to talk about paying with your debit card, with your credit card at a DC fast charger and why it may not be normal. And for that, we have with us Stian Mathisen, Head of PR and Regulatory Affairs at the charging company Recharge. Thank you so much, Stian, for being with us today here.
Thank you for having me on. I've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Yeah, me too. Me too. So we have Stian with us today because we are at a Recharge charger where they actually have a pilot project with a payment terminal where you can operate the charger. So later in this video, we're going to go through that. I'm going to try it for the very first time. I have not been prepped for this. So, well, if it doesn't work well, it's all on you, Recharge. And also, this video is, of course, sponsored by Recharge. They're one of my main sponsors here on the channel. So thank you so much for sponsoring me, Recharge.
Well, you're welcome. And when we decided to sponsor you, Chris, I right away said that, like, I really want to do some videos together with you. So I've kind of paid my way into your car here.
Yes,
but,
you have.
But I'm very happy to be here, that we can finally do this. And I think we'll be making some more hopefully informative and interesting videos together about charging. Maybe like get into some of the nerdy details.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. I think a lot of people would like to see that. So if you would, please drop a comment down below, ask us to, or just drop down below what you want us to do in the future. Because, I mean, this is such a broad theme. There's so many things to talk about. It can be so technical or so easy. But before we dive into the nitty-gritty, do you just want to tell us a little bit about Recharge and maybe how Recharge is different from most other, charging companies, at least here in Norway?
Yeah, sure. I'll be happy to do that. So Recharge has been building charging sites in the Nordic countries, meaning Norway, Sweden, and Finland, for more than 10 years. So we've now built more than 4,000 charging points. And nowadays, when we build new locations, it's mostly 150 kilowatt or more high power chargers. So that's a little of our story. We're currently the biggest charging network in the Nordic countries where all kinds of electric cars can charge. Meaning that we also build, the CHAdeMO plugs for
for Nissan Leafs and
and these Asian cars.
NV200, is that also CHAdeMO?
Yeah, and the Kia Soul used to have the
and
CHAdeMO
also,
plug. A lot of the Asian cars.
Yeah, a lot of Asian cars.
So we make sure that we have both CCS plugs and CHAdeMO plugs at all our sites, and that's why we're the biggest charging network where all kinds of electric cars can charge.
Yeah.
And our chargers are used about 300,000 times each month.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah.
300,000 times.
Yeah, so that's quite a lot. But of course, because we have a lot of chargers in Norway, it kind of makes sense because there's so many electric cars here. But we're sort of lucky to be in that position that we're probably one of the most utilized charging operators in the world, I would say.
And also a thing I've talked about a few times in the video is that most charging operators in Norway is also the service, not only a service provider, but also not only the charge point operator, but also a service provider. But you guys are only the charge point operator. You don't own an app. You don't, have any interface between the customer and the charger. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and this might get a little bit complicated, but I'll try my best to explain this. So what Recharge does, we're mainly, an infrastructure company. We build the charging infrastructure, but we don't have the direct communication with the end customer, like the person that comes to charge at our chargers. And the reason why we've done that is that we want to have an open network, meaning that we want to make it as easy as possible to charge with us. So you don't have to download a Recharge app or get like a Recharge RFID tag or anything like that to charge at our stations. You can most likely use whatever app you already have to charge with other operators, like the Norwegian EV Association, for instance. They have an app, you can use that here. If you have there's an app called Easy Park in Norway that you use for paying for parking. You can use that app to pay for.
Oh, you can? I didn't even know that. That's awesome. Yeah. Everybody has Easy Park. Like, not only in Norway, I think they're probably the largest parking app in the world. I'm guessing now, but I've heard, people from around the world like talk about Easy Park. So that's cool.
Yeah. So that's what we want. We want to make it as easy as possible to charge with us, and having to download yet another app called Recharge, is probably not the way to do that. So So that's our sort of policy. We want to make it easy, and we have this open network policy. And then as part of this, making it easy to charge, we've decided now to pilot card payment terminals on some of the chargers, which is the reason why we're here in this particular location today, because here we have one of these pilots for card payment terminals.
And full transparency, guys, I personally, even though if you weren't sponsoring the video, if you weren't sitting here, I think me and everybody out there is applause for doing card payment.
But basically we just want to make it as easy as possible to charge. And like you mentioned, a lot of people have asked us why, you can pay with payment cards.
Yeah.
For pretty much anything. You can, if you go to Oslo at the central station and you need to use the public bathroom, that costs money. You can use a payment card to pay for that going into that bathroom.
But not at a charger. Why not?
Yeah, so why not? That's the question we've received a lot. And and there are a couple of reasons for that. One is that, in the beginning, 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago, when we started doing this, there wasn't this big demand for card payment terminals.
Okay.
Because we saw that you had these first movers that were buying the electric cars then. They kind of wanted a different experience, I think, when they were paying for charging. And they were really happy to have an RFID tag or use an app for the payment. That felt kind of, that sort of felt right when you had this modern new technology of the electric car. And you were paying in a different way. So there were very few people asking for this in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then we've seen that as the years go along, and especially here in Norway, the electric car has become, mass market. And, your grandmother is buying an electric car.
Yeah.
More and more people, they want to pay with regular payment cards, and I totally understand that. So we've been looking at the possibilities for a few years. The main reason why it's been a little bit difficult is because of the cost, basically, and our resources. Should we put our limited resources into payment card terminals or into building as many charging stations as we can with the payment solutions that we've had, which do work very well, I would say.
But can't you just buy a charger that comes finished from the manufacturer with card payment and that solution? Is that possible? Does that exist?
That exists, and that is possible, but not for all kinds of chargers.
Okay.
Because we, and the viewers might not know this, but we as a charge point operator, we don't actually build the charger. We don't manufacture the charging station, right? So we buy those from other companies, and we have chargers from lots of different companies in our network. And if we were to set up a brand new one now, it is possible from some manufacturers to get a card payment terminal installed directly on the charger, and that's one of the pilots that we're running right now.
So it's not the norm at all.
It's not the norm at all.
So if I was to go out, or anybody was to go out and start their own charging company, they have to buy the actual chargers from a manufacturer. And very few of those manufacturers now, even in late 2022, actually have the solution built in to pay with card. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Very few do. And then we also need to make sure that the all the older chargers that we have in our network, we have lots of 50 kilowatt DC chargers that might not necessarily we can't just take them out and upgrade them with new ones, because they work perfectly well.
Yeah.
And at some point they will be upgraded to 150 kilowatt chargers most likely. But not exactly today. So we need to have some solution that will work also with all the older chargers that we have and want to keep for a few years still. And this pilot that's at the site where we are today is one that should work with all the chargers, old and new. Old and new.
So I think you've answered everything I was wondering about. So if you guys again have any questions, drop them down below. We'll try to get them answered. So I think we're gonna hop out now, and we're gonna show you guys the site, and I'm going to try to pay with my card. This was a huge fail, guys. So I bought new mics for this video, so me and Stian could have one mic each, and you guys could have the best possible audio quality. And out of the box, they had about a quarter of charge, but I charged them for about an hour in the car before we started filming, so we had a little bit of juice in the mics. But once we started filming this section, after the intro, they were completely dead, and I didn't know that before I got home later on. But what I'm talking about here is that they have 2 Alpatronics chargers here with 2 connectors each, 1 CCS and 1 CHAdeMO. And then to our left, there are 3 50 kilowatt chargers. So in total, 7 charging points here, but there are only 5 parking spots at this charger. So now Stian's giving me his card because this video is sponsored by Recharge, and we're going to do the card payment here. So they have the terminal on the left side here, so just a few steps to walk, and you see it's a huge and large and nice interface. There's a huge screen here, and yeah, even though it's cloudy outside, but there's no glare. It just looks really nice. So you press the screen here, and then you can choose your connector. So I'm going to choose CCS here, which is in the middle. Have you plugged your cable? Yes, you have. And then I'm going to probably do the number 4 here, because there are 5 chargers here in total. And here it's going to reserve 700 kroners on your card before you start paying. So you'll have to have at least 700 kroners on your card before you start to charge. So I'm now using the terminal right below here. We're not showing that, so we're not going to show Stian's password or PIN code on his card. But yeah, really nice charging site. There's a huge sign there in the background where it says you can pay by card, but I think that people are going to miss that. So it's nice to show you guys this in a video. So yeah, and then it's going to start charging. I'm going to take a few steps back. This was filmed a few weeks ago when I just started, walking outside off the crutches. So you can see I'm a little bit stiff in my walk. I walk much better now, so hopefully soon off the crutches. So what I'm doing here is that I'm just doing the Phoenix contact connector dance where I'm holding the charging cable or the connector, pushing it towards the car, because there are 2 pins in the top, which are the DC pins, and that's where the communication happens. So sometimes when the cable is a little bit, heavy, charging can fail because of the communication. That's a little bit different from car to car. So what I'm looking at here is if we started charging, I'm pressing so we're charging now here. Only at 86 kilowatts, but that's because I have a cold battery. We've been at this site for about 2 hours now, and it's about maybe like 7 or 8 degrees Celsius outside. So, the battery is not warm. So we're back in the car, Stian, and we actually filmed an outro outside the car, very nice, with the chargers in the background. We did that, and my microphone died. I bought new microphones today, so we can have one each to give you guys the best audio quality. But yeah, they were not fully charged when I bought them, so now they're dead, and we had no audio. So
that's very ironic in the video about charging.
Yeah, about charging, yeah. So we have my backup mic, my old mic here in between us. I hope the audio is good enough. But okay, I digress. So, that was easy enough. That was super easy, connecting to the charger, all the solutions to operate the charger, all the buttons I had to press. Super simple, super easy. So the big question now is, will this be the standard moving forward or not?
Well, it might be.
Okay.
What we're doing right now is that we're testing this solution here, with the separate, we call it a kiosk, the thing where you actually have the payment terminal and where you pay.
Yeah.
A kiosk solution. That's what we're testing here. And then we have a couple other pilots as well at the same time. We're testing having the card payment terminal directly on the charger.
Yeah.
And we're testing other kiosk solutions.
Okay.
So we're testing a few different things. And what's kind of important to remember here is that there are no sort of off-the-shelf solutions for us to do this, because charging stations, it's such a young and sort of undeveloped market. So we can't just go out and buy, pre-made solutions. So that's why we need to test these different ways of doing it. And that's also, why you won't find that many charging stations that have card payment terminals.
Yes. Makes sense.
So we got to test this, and then we will see, what we do afterwards. We also got to see if, will people actually use these things? That's another thing we're testing now. We're testing to see, does it actually work? Yeah. And do people actually use it?
The big question is, because you're always going to have some sort of amount of the population, some percentage who are very loud and vocal and oh, we need this, we want this. But that's a very valid point. Once the solution is there, do people actually use it? Because if you would have rolled this out on all your 4,000 charging points across the Nordic countries, and then you found out only like 10% or 5% of people are using them, that would be a huge investment where that had to come from somewhere. So maybe you had to turn up like the price of charging, like that cost had to be carried somehow, right?
Yeah, and that's also what we're looking at. Does it make sense to kind of what we call retrofit? Upgrade the old chargers with this now, or maybe put it in place as new locations are built, or as old locations are being upgraded with new chargers, because we do have limited resources, and we have to decide, do we want to spend those resources upgrading old chargers with card payment terminals, or we want to spend our resources on building new chargers? Because the demand for more charging stations is huge. So we really gotta think twice about how to do this. But another thing we see is that there will be, at least in Europe, there will be legislative demands from the EU about card payment terminals going forward. So we know that at some point, not just us, but everybody will have to start providing card payment terminals.
So you think that's very likely that there's going to come like some regulatory demand from the EU, and then at some point in time, all new chargers will have to have this either way?
That's what it looks like right now, but that's a couple of years into the future. So
guys, if you want this now, I think, can we leave a link to your pilot projects down below? Is that fine?
Yeah, or we can list the locations.
Just list
where they are
list
in
the
Norway,
locations.
Sweden, and Finland. And I'll also be happy to, like, if any of the viewers have any questions, like, I'll be monitoring the comments, and if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments below. Okay,
so the big takeaway here is, like, it's finally here, like a pilot project that people have been asking for a long time. You're listening to the customer, you're testing this out, and if this works and if people use it, you may be rolling this out like organically. So it's up to people. Like, if you want to test this, go to the list down below, find your recharge charging station and use it. Like, that's the best way for you guys to push forward your agenda. If you want this, use it. So again, thank you so much, Stian, for being with me today, and hopefully you'll be with me in a few videos. We have a cool video actually in the future planned where we're going to talk about what car dealers don't tell you when you're buying an electric car. So I think that's going to be a fun video.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below. And for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.